In recent days, I have been addressing concerns about rising property taxes and prorations for the current year between a seller and buyer at closing. Yes, our property values have risen significantly. With that, naturally the property taxes we pay will go up. The issue I've been addressing is on what value should the prorations at the closing table be based. As you know, taxes are paid at the end of the year, so the buyer will receive a credit against the down payment and closing costs for the estimated taxes the seller owes at closing. The buyer gets that credit now because at the end of the year, the buyer will pay the full year's worth of taxes. The taxing jurisdictions do not set the rates for the taxes until the central appraisal districts certify the values of the properties within the respective jurisdictions and after the jurisdictions set their budget for the next fiscal year. Generally, it is done late September before those tax rates are set, and it's October 1 or later before taxes are billed. So what is the best available information to use to fairly prorate the taxes for the current year between the buyer and seller when the actual tax bills are not available? Of course, the buyer wants us to use the highest value and tax rates, which means a bigger credit to buyer at closing. And seller wants us to prorate using last year's taxes, arguing those are the last actual known taxes. Between now and July 15th, the estimated values set by the Central Appraisal District are subject to protest. A seller can file a protest in May, and hearings take place between then and July 15th. As a result, the estimated values may change. Additionally, depending on how high the total certified value of the properties in a jurisdiction rise, the tax rate may actually go down when set in September, if the budget for the jurisdiction does not rise correspondingly. I know now many of you do not believe that tax rates ever go down, but I did serve my city council for 6 years during a time when property values were going up, and we did reduce our tax rates during that time. Because the current year taxes are not yet known, the prorations at closing are just estimates. The title company can adjust the estimates used for prorations based on an agreement between buyer and seller. But the bottom line is, whatever figures are used at closing, they are just estimates until the actual bills are rendered. The contract itself obligates the parties to make adjustments as necessary when the actual taxes are known. Paragraph 13 of the contract states, if taxes for the current year vary from the amount prorated at closing, the parties shall adjust the prorations when tax statements for the current year are available. Then, in paragraph 19 of the contract, it specifically states that all covenants, representations, and warranties in this contract survive closing. I have been in the business long enough to have seen a market rise significantly, such that the difference owed to buyer from seller after actual taxes were rendered made it worth buyer's expense to enforce the provision in a court of law. Buyer won in a summary judgment. I actually hope always that the buyers and sellers do the right thing and pay their fair share of taxes when they know what they are. If you have other topics you would like me to discuss, please send them to me at tipoftheweek@allegiancetitle.com. Thank you for your business.